Hello, everyone. Coming on back. Good evening, good morning, whatever the time is for you. A little sip of tea. And let's get into some perfect pixel with distance fields. This is what I have going on here. A perfect pixel with distance field, sign distance field thing. So right now we have 10 pixels. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then if I alternate the pixels, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 pixels wide. And that's our pixel stroke right here. And if we DPI, zoom this way smaller, little baby, a little tiny circle, we've got the same thing. Whoa, look at me go off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we switch to our red and we go 1, 2, 3, 4. Look at me miss that one. 5. And now we have essentially a pixel, no matter the size of the viewpoints, we've got the scale of the pixel stroke is always going to be the same. This is using Fwidth and partial derivatives. I'm going to be 100% honest. I don't remember any derivative math. So I've looked up some YouTube videos. It's something about bitmaps, pixel sampling. It's the next pixel up or the next pixel to the right, or is it the left? I'm forgetting which direction. It's something about getting the pixels to and from the next surrounding pixel. However, this is used often to do anti-aliasing. And in there's an amazing gentleman in Ben UI's Discord that also said you could use this to get a perfect pixel stroke with SDFs. And I had never thought to do that, so I was like, why don't I give it a try? And it completely works. Now you do also need to give some anti-aliasing, which is kind of the same technique right here. Fwidth for the end, and I'll show you what it's like without that. Actually, we got to do it with the outline, not the actual distance field. And you can see we get the aliasing here. It's going to be even more present if I chunk this up to, let's say, 40 pixels. As we get smaller, you can see the jagged aliasing going on. It's not as bad as I would have thought, but it definitely has aliasing, and we want to reduce that, especially in UI. Most of the UI is white, so if anything is aliased and it's white, it's really apparent. And that's something here. So this is kind of the formula. Oh, looks some lovely Steam folks playing. Didn't even realize that overlay was on. This is the formula. I'm using the component mask R and G for the UVs, and I'm using the UV coordinate 4. This is important because 4 is the normalized UVs. If you use the get user interface, this is essentially the same thing. There's my alt key. There's my alt. So this is just the same thing. It's either coordinate 4 or the normalized UVs here if you go into this node. The normalized UVs are coordinate 4 in UMG land. So that is why we go with that. Pixel stroke is 10. This kind of makes the ratio that we're multiplying the same as the size. So if the size is 1, that's completely fine for a circle. If we show the border, you'll see it. But when we want to render, oh look, I have the aliasing. Yeah, the aliasing is no longer showing. Let's get that up there, and if we were to do a hexagon, for instance, it's going to render it outside of that. So the size, just putting it to 0.5 right now, so that the entire shape can be drawn without that kind of a calculation. If you do wanted to do it, you could do the size minus the thing, and that math ratio would work. Dividing by 2 to get the right pixel ratio in there. You could also multiply by 0.5 if you want to avoid accidentally dividing by 0. If somehow this could be 0, maybe. Could be a thing. Yes, more updates, please. Yeah, and then what I'm doing on this side of the equation is I'm taking the raw SDF, subtracting it by 0.5, then adding a 0.5 threshold with some anti-aliasing formula I saw on another person's YouTube that I totally will hopefully link if I don't. There's a lot of different formulas that have used anti-aliasing, and this one seemed one of the more simple ones, and the right ratios, shifting the sign distance field down 0.5 and then the threshold at 0.5 seemed to make this a nice in between. But no idea, there could be a better anti-aliasing formula here. I haven't dove too far into anti-aliasing formulas. I just usually find one or a couple online and give it a shot and play with numbers until I get the right outcome. But if you look at it again without the anti-aliasing formula, it's pretty jagged. It's got some jaggeds, especially as you get smaller. It's going to be a little bit more aliased, so this is a nice clean way to reduce that. And aside from that, it generally works out. So if we were to take a peek at our hexagon here, bring it back to paint, flop it in, and let's count ourselves 10 pixels. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you can imagine in between is 5, and we have 10. And we can make it super small, and grab it and paste it in, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Wow, I can't click. 5. I can't click a single pixel. My mouse skills must be going down. And then you can imagine the 5 in the middle there to get you around a 10 pixel width. It works for almost all the SDFs except for our lovely little triangle. And I believe that this is because the triangle formula for the sign distance fields doesn't actually have a size parameter. The size parameter could be scaled down with UVs. It could be done with a bunch of other ways, and that's likely why this doesn't exist. If I put the same radius formula here and were to try to grab, let's say, the bottom bar and calculate the pixels here, that definitely doesn't look like 10, right? So it looks like we're at 5. So it could be something as easy as it's always just this to make it work, which would then be fine. But I believe it's just triangle, and there might be a couple sign distance field shapes if you're taking IQ's webpage for sign distance field shapes that might act a little strange. However, most distance field formulas, especially if they include a size, should generally work. So in the UI Material Lab, and this is where I've taken my distance field SDF examples, the box, circle, hexagon, and triangle, all of those will not the triangle, but those 3 will absolutely work with this formula. And again, triangle might want to do something like avoid the 0.2, and that looks about accurate. So just a little bit of buyer beware. Just make sure you understand what's going on with that particular part, and hopefully this will help you with any anti-aliasing or any pixel perfect stroke distance field outlines that you want to have. Oh yeah, the other tip I'm going to advise is not to do a stroke of 1. And the reason this is, I don't think it's going to appear on circle as much as it'll appear for other shapes, like a hexagon. Here is a hexagon, and that's because at 1 pixel, you can kind of see occasionally it can choose to, yep, it's kind of a binary question. Do I render a pixel or do I not render a pixel when something is exactly 1 pixel? And there could be a chance that the rendering DPI and size somehow deems it to not render that pixel. And that's what'll happen in this particular case. So I always recommend if you are going to do pixel stroke, do 2 pixels, because at least you have a guaranteed it's always going to show 2 pixels no matter what. When it's 1 pixel, you have that strange risk where occasionally it can decide to not draw one of those pixels depending on the resolution and the size. So yeah, hopefully that gives a little demo of using Fwidth and anti-aliasing to both get a pixel perfect stroke along with anti-aliasing afterwards to make it look good. Let me know if this was helpful, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.